time on the hit list, we salute the past and present kings and queens of country. LeAnn Rimes rocketed to fame in 1996 with her debut single Blue, when she was just 13 years old. The hit broke records for its first week sales and launched a career that would see her release 7 albums by the age of 20, by which time she graduated from her country roots to a more poppy sound, much to the disapproval of many of her early fans.
It was hard for a couple of years after growing up in this business in front of everyone's, in front of everyone's eyes, really, and around 16, 17, kind of taking a little bit of a break and then coming back as a woman. People were like, wow, and I think sometimes I have to fight it a little, and I have had to over the past couple of years, but it's starting to die off now because I think people are really kind of getting reacquainted with me as a woman and my music as an adult.
Part of the growing up involved a much-publicised spat with her father, which ended with LeAnn filing a lawsuit against him, his partner and her co-manager, claiming they'd stolen $7 million of her earnings.
I know I'm not the only one who's been through ups and downs with the parents, and mine were very public and turned into lawsuits at one point. And, I think all I wanted was my family to be my family, not my management, and, to really have that separation of business and personal life. And so I have that now. I have a wonderful relationship with both of my parents.
She proved that with her 2007 album Family, which marked a return to her country origins and debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 chart.
But I kind of wear it all on my sleeve. I don't hide anything, especially on this record. I don't think I ever was freaked out at all about really kind of telling the story, because, like I said, I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. So I think it's great to be able to put those emotions and feelings into a record and have people listen to it and say, hey, I'm not alone in this world. Look, LeAnn Rimes feels the same way I do. She even talks about it in her music.
Not that making herself emotionally available in her music means granting the media open slather.
It's just so hard to keep your personal life private now. But it's a lot easier if you take a stand and say that's what you're doing. And, after I learned my lesson, as a kid, and there's the looking back at all that footage that they have, it's like we let them into so many parts of our lives that I would never let anyone into now. So I'm smart about it now. I know what not to say. I know, when to be quiet. I know when to not let people in. And I think maybe Britney and people like that are still learning those lessons.
Taylor Swift began her bid for fame and glory earlier than most. Inspired by her opera-singing grandmother, she began performing around her hometown in Pennsylvania at the age of 10.
For me, the long period of time occurred from when I was 10 years old to when I was about 15. I mean, I spent that entire time trying to get a record deal and actually moved to Nashville when I was 13.
She showed maturity beyond her years by turning down the first record deal she was offered because the company wouldn't allow her to record her own songs.
So I signed a publishing deal and became a staff songwriter at Sony ATV Publishing. And so I would write every single day after school because it was a job, I was a paid songwriter when I was 14. So I wrote songs in Nashville for 2.5 years and eventually got a record deal.
She was still in high school when she released her debut single, Tim McGraw, about her favorite country music star. It ended up going to number 6 on the Billboard country music charts. Her self-titled debut album, on which she wrote or co-wrote all the songs, ended up spending 8 weeks on top of the country charts in 2007, when Taylor was just 17. The next thing she knew, she was on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine.
Isn't that insane? I saw that, and I was like, are you kidding me? I'm in between Bono and Bruce Springsteen on the Best of Rock issue, and I'm like, hi, I'm a country singer, and this is the coolest thing in the world. I honestly had a total freak out moment when I saw that. I was like, Rolling Stone? What?
In 2008, her second album, Fearless, went straight to number 1 on the Billboard country charts, making her the year's top country artist and songwriter. In early 2009, she was invited to sing with fellow teen sensation Miley Cyrus at the Grammy Awards.
Miley and I have always talked about, like when we've hung out, we've always been like, wouldn't it be cool if we could perform together sometime? And we always wanted it to be the right place and the right time, and this all fell into place perfectly.
But all the early success hasn't made her complacent.
People will completely jump all over you for the littlest things, and unfortunately the mistakes that people make in everyday life are blown out of proportion because this is the lifestyle that I chose. But you know what? I'm lucky to be able to live this lifestyle, so I can adapt to change, you know.
While Taylor Swift insists on writing her own songs, fellow country star Faith Hill relies on the songwriting skills of others when it comes to recording an album. That dedication to finding just the right song for her soulful, raspy voice has helped Faith to sales of more than 35 million albums. Since the dawn of her recording career back in 1993, her hits have included It Matters to Me, There'll Be You, Cry, This Kiss, and a cover of the Janis Joplin classic Piece of My Heart. She's also recorded a string of duets with her husband and Taylor Swift's favourite singer, Tim McGraw. On Tim's 2007 album, Let It Go, they sang 2 songs together, Shotgun Rider and the Grammy-nominated I Need You, which were included on their Soul to Soul tour. After double headlining the highest-grossing country tour of all time, they went back out on the road the following year.
Fans that saw the show last year, they're gonna see some new stuff, new things this year for sure. I mean, this summer.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think it's going to be more exciting. The graphics, the lighting.
Definitely.
And
because we've learned more about the stage and the set. I mean, that stage is so complex and so well built that
we
only
were just
by the
learning
end,
it.
yeah, by the end of the tour, we were just kind of getting it under our, just realizing what it could actually do.
They took their 3 daughters on tour with them to ensure they stuck to their own family rule of never spending more than 3 days apart, as well as a brief foray into acting to appear in the 2004 film Stepford Wives. Faith has also been hard at work as a philanthropist. In 1999, she toured to support a national children's book drive. She and Tim also donated part of the profits from their Soul to Soul tour to victims of Hurricane Katrina.
Still much weight on these people's shoulders, but they come. Their hearts are big and they're lifted and they're still willing to say, "Can I help you?" I mean, that's the one thing I really saw in Mississippi. I mean, it was not all about me.
And more recently, she's been working alongside Annie Lennox to raise awareness of AIDS in Africa. She's also a staunch supporter of the Home for the Holidays campaign, which promotes adoption.
I think that would kind of be the name. When kids would call one another names, they would always say, "You act like you're adopted," which doesn't really mean anything. I'm not sure what that means, how people act that are adopted. But I used to really get them good because I would say, "Well, I am adopted, so what do you think about that?"
Having been adopted by a loving family herself, she's only too happy to host the annual show.
People pick up the phone, they hear the stories from the children. It's their own testimony. And they see a few performances, but the most important thing, it's their testimony. It encourages people to really look inside their heart and pick up the phone and ask, where can I adopt a child?
Born in New Zealand, Keith Urban learned to play guitar as a 6-year-old in Australia. By the time he was 8, Keith was winning talent shows and becoming very used to being on stage, which would turn out to be his natural home.
To come to another country, you know, whether it be UK or Germany and all these people who I've never met, to be singing along with every song, it's pretty amazing. It's a great feeling. I mean, last night I just let him sing tons of the songs. I just stood there and listened, you know, save the voice. And it's great. It's such a lot of love in the room.
His United States debut came in 2000 with a self-titled album, helping him win the top new male vocalist award at the 2001 Academy of Country Music Awards. 3 years later, he took out the awards for Best Album and the top male vocalist. By 2005, his rumoured romance with Nicole Kidman had made him a household name, and he found himself nominated for 4 more Country Music Awards. including Video of the Year and Entertainer of the Year, after his album Be Here debuted at #1 on the country charts.
My thoughts going in, oh my gosh. Well, it's the first time the awards have been in New York City, so that's going to bring a difference to it. And mostly I'm looking forward to playing. I mean, that's the thing I love most about what I do is actually getting to play. So, you know, awards sort of come and go, but hopefully the playing goes on.
In 2006, as well as marrying Nicole and checking himself into rehab, he carried off a Grammy Award for Best Male Country Vocal Performance for his single You'll Think of Me. By debuting at #17, another Keith Urban single, Once in a Lifetime, also broke the record for the highest ever entry in the history of the Billboard's country chart. Since then, he's released 2 DVDs, become a father to Sunday Rose Kidman Urban, and taken the family out on tour, ahead of the release of his studio album, Sweet Thing.
Well, being away from home is always the hardest part, but I'm bringing my family out for a few of the shows, you know, sporadically, and structured the tour so that I'm out and then I'm home and then I'm out and then I'm home. We had to fit the bus out a little bit differently this year, but it's she came down yesterday for rehearsal here, and just I love when the girls are around.
Despite his eagerness to keep Sunday close while he's on the road, he isn't ready to get her up on stage yet.
We do what we can to keep her safe, you know, because she didn't choose to come into this lifestyle. It's just part of what her mother and I do. So we do what we can to try and keep her some civility about the whole thing.
Back in 2003, when Natalie Maines announced at a London gig that the Dixie Chicks were ashamed to come from the same state as President George W. Bush, she set off a firestorm that no one could have foreseen. As well as being branded un-American, the Texas country trio received hate mail and death threats. The ensuing controversy, which saw their audiences dwindle, and the destruction of their albums in public, threatened to ruin their careers.
A lot of people who were around us at the time we were writing didn't know the extent of the backlash. And, you know, we just thought it was common knowledge that, you know, the Red Cross had turned down $1 million donation from us, and that Natalie had gotten a serious death threat, and that people were banning at the corporate level, people were banning our music. You know, that's pretty heavy stuff. And
that's
pretty
un-American, if I may say so myself.
Stung by the backlash, it took them 3 years to emerge with a new album, Taking the Long Way, the lead single of which, Not Ready to Make Nice, marked their attempt to get over their trauma.
I can talk about it without crying now.
That's something.
Yeah, so it's, you know, it was a good thing for us just to get it on paper.
No, it brought us so much closer. I mean, I do think we were disheartened for a while, don't you think, and uninspired. As a musician, if you're not inspired, what's the point? You really have to love what you do to go through what you go through. But I think we knew we'd find it somewhere, you know, and we have each other.
The reward at the end of their long road to recovery came at the 2007 Grammy Awards ceremony, where they scored an incredible 5 awards, including Best Song for Not Ready to Make Nice, Best Record and Best Album of the Year. At last, Natalie was able to let it go.
We're just past that. This is, you know, I totally lost it backstage at the end of it all, and I felt like it was sort of my first cry for the last 3 years.
And Emily was ready to acknowledge that the troubles of the past 4 years had paved the way for their amazing Grammy haul.
Great music comes from inspiration, and what happened to us really drove us to make an album that said a lot, and I think people kind of linked into that because it was a story and it was something beyond the music. It wasn't just songs, it was something that said something, made a political, if you read it that way, but a political stance. And so I think people kind of identify with that, you know, and I think you know, maybe that's part of the success, but we will take it any which way it comes. Famously claiming it costs a lot to look this cheap,
Dolly Parton is the first to admit she's a little larger than life.
If I hadn't been born a woman, I'd have been a drag queen, because I love all the glitter and the glare and the flamboyance, and I know how the drag queens love to get it all on. And I love, even as a woman, I look like a drag queen as a woman. I'm just a little over the top, but I just love that.
Born the fourth of 12 children in a dilapidated cabin in the Smoky Mountains, Dolly wasted no time in using her singing and songwriting talent to dig her way out of the dirt. By the age of 20, she'd made her way to Nashville, landed a recording contract, and married asphalt contractor Carl Dean, who remains her husband to this day. In all, she's written over 600 songs, including the Whitney Houston smash I Will Always Love You. She's recorded more than 40 albums and is the most awarded female country artist of all time, and is showing no sign of slowing down in her 60s. In the early 80s, she branched out into acting, when Jane Fonda cast her as the brassy Dorothy Rhodes in comedy classic 9 to 5. Dolly also co-wrote the film's theme, which went on to be a huge hit and win her an Oscar nomination for Best Song. She recently reunited with co-stars Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda to celebrate the film's 25th anniversary.
I can't believe it's been 25 years and how long this movie has lasted and been so loved.
So loved that it's been turned into a Broadway musical, for which Dolly wrote the songs.
They asked if I would do all the music since I wrote the theme song, and I said I'll give it a try. So I got into it. It really came real easy for me, real natural. And I've written about 18 pieces that they've kept and that they liked, and so they'll have to narrow them down.
She was nominated for another Oscar for her song Traveling Through, which underpinned the 2005 film Trans-America.
One morning I woke up and I got it. It just all hit me, and so I wrote it down. And so next thing I know, I was nominated. But it's still just as exciting. You never get too old or callous not to appreciate those kind of wonderful things.
Since then, she's supported her Backwards Barbie album with a tour and a campaign to promote literacy among children. She's also been a regular on the Disney smash hit TV series Hannah Montana, playing Aunt Dolly to teen queen Miley Cyrus.
Well, I love little Miley, and her dad, Billy Ray Cyrus, and I have been friends since we both, since he came along with Ache and Break Your Heart, we kind of got attached to one another, and he'd been a big fan of mine. And we've always, when Miley did come along, I've almost, just been like her godmother. I'm her honorary godmother. And so she calls me Aunt Dolly, and when we did the show, every little kid I see now, everybody in the world watches that show, every child. And everywhere I go, it's like, hi, Aunt Dolly, hi, Aunt Dolly. So I think that's probably the best move I ever made, was playing Aunt Dolly on Hannah Montana's show.
Garth Brooks has been declared the second most successful solo performer in the US after Elvis Presley. An incredible feat for a country artist whose popularity in the 90s led to record-breaking mainstream success. In the wake of his divorce from wife Sandy in 2001, after countless tours and 9 albums, he decided it was time to hang up his hat and focus on bringing up his 3 daughters. He left the touring up to his new partner, fellow country megastar Trisha Yearwood.
It's just ironic that I fall in love with a woman that is the love of my life, and then she goes out on tour and I stay at home with the babies, which is totally flip-flop from how I spent the 90s.
But within a couple of years, he was getting itchy feet.
My babies go down every night at about 9:30 is when they go to sleep. And oddly enough, that's when showtime was for most of my life. So the house gets quiet right around when showtime starts. So it's, you start to feel your stomach kind of get, kind of antsy, and you start to sweat a little bit, and you're getting ready to run. And the problem is, the tour's not there, so you don't get to run.
The day was saved by US supermarket chain Walmart, who kept him busy with the job of compiling an album of greatest hits.
Walmart found us in our retirement in Oklahoma, wanted to go in the vault. I thought it would be easy. I got to tell you, it's been the longest 2 years of my career, because they stuck you back out there, and all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, I'm competing, my name's on it. So and you start to go to work again. And so it's been really tough because new stuff's easier to promote than old stuff. So this was twice as hard.
The album ended up being released towards the end of 2007. Ahead of the launch, his management announced a concert at the 8,000-seater Spring Center in Kansas, where Garth's performing career first took off. The concert immediately sold out, and 8 more shows were added.
For me, you got to know it's kind of like a two-stage thing. One, it's Kansas City. This is one of the very first 3 or 4 shows we ever played was at Kansas City Opry. So this is like coming home for me. It's like the circle completes. And then to come play a building of this magnitude and this beauty, and to be in on it from the ground floor up makes it twice as exciting for me. So you can imagine my joy was getting to play again for the first time in 100 years. But would anybody show up? Well, then the ticket sales happen. Now it looks like everybody's going to be here, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be nothing but a party.
Reba McEntire has earned her title as the Queen of Country with 22 Billboard #1s and 31 albums that have made her the second best-selling female country artist of all time. Born in Oklahoma in 1955, she got her break 19 years later, when she sang the Star-Spangled Banner at the National Rodeo Finals. Country singer Red Steagall liked what he heard and suggested she go to Nashville to pursue a solo career. It took her a while to break through in country music's capital, but in 1980 she started turning heads with her top 5 single, Today All Over Again. After releasing My Kind of Country in 1984, she was named the CMA's Female Vocalist of the Year 4 years in a row. She's since become one of only 5 female artists to win the CMA's highest honor of Entertainer of the Year, an honor Reba believes more women deserve.
I've watched many decades of entertainers, and I will go watch females and be totally entertained. And when I watch the males, I love their singing and their lights. But when the girls come on, you better know that they've come up with something new, innovative, and they're going to give you a show. They're entertainers.
Well loved for her high-spirited stage shows, she's gone on to inspire a whole new generation of country performers and collaborate with the likes of Leanne Rimes and Kelly Clarkson.
Oh my God, I grew up watching every move that woman made. And so, to be able to call her a friend now and to, to be performing with someone, this is kind of like my lifelong dream to perform with her.
I am here to tell Reba she's awesome. I love her, I adore her, and I think she's someone everybody should kind of mark their career after. She's just done so many great things and great things for people. So she's just a really great person, amazing.
Despite her record-breaking achievements, when country music television first proposed a special show to crown her as a giant, she came over all humble.
Well, I said no a couple of times, and then finally they said, no, we're really serious and everybody wants to do it. And I said, well, all right.
Honoured with a star-studded event at the Kodak Theatre, she couldn't quite take it all in.
Well, it's very overwhelming, very flattering. I am in hog heaven, to say the least. I'm just thrilled to pieces.
I have that now. I have a wonderful relationship with both of my parents.
She proved that with her 2007 album Family, which marked a return to her country origins and debuted at #4 on the Billboard 200 chart.
But I kind of wear it all on my sleeve. I don't hide anything, especially on this record. I don't think I ever was freaked out at all about really kind of telling the story, because like I said, I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. So I think it's great to be.
Leanne Rimes rocketed to fame in 1996 with her debut single Blue, when she was just 13 years old. The hit broke records for its first week sales and launched a career that would see her release 7 albums by the age of 20, by which time she graduated from her country roots to a more poppy sound, much to the disapproval of many of her early fans.
It was a
spat with her father, which ended with Leanne filing a lawsuit against him, his partner and her co-manager, claiming they'd stolen $7 million of her earnings.
I know I'm not the only one who's been through ups and downs with the parents, you know, and mine were very public and turned into lawsuits at one point. And, you know, I think all I wanted was my family to be my family, not my management, and, you know, to really have that separation of business and personal life. And so
This time on the hit list, we salute the past and present kings and queens of country.
For a couple of years after growing up this business in front of everyone's, you know, in front of everyone's eyes, really, and, you know, around 16, 17, kind of taking a little bit of a break and then coming back as a woman, people were like, wow, you know. And I think sometimes I have to fight it a little, and I have had to over the past couple of years, but it's starting to die off now because I think people are really kind of getting reacquainted with me as a woman and my music as an adult.
Part of the growing up involved a much publicized